This is Analog Spectrum. I'm just going to say that rosewater should never be used in cooking and leave it at that.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Analog Spectrum. We still have Andrew with us, Doug's son, and 25 years old, Gen Z.
Yes.
And today we're actually gonna watch it. We're gonna talk about a movie that he recommended, and we're kind of going back here a ways. But why don't you tell us what we're watching and why, Drew?
We are watching The Matrix, and I chose this movie for a couple reasons. So I got assigned to pick a movie, and I thought of all. I don't.
Homework.
Exactly. But I don't watch a ton of movies, if I'm honest with you. I don't like. I have a Netflix. Well, I don't. I use other people's Netflix account anyway. But I don't know. I don't watch a ton of movies, so I was trying to rack my brain of a good movie to talk about, and The Matrix just popped in my head. I was like, it's always a go-to for me. If I ever have to recommend a movie to someone, most likely I'll recommend like The Matrix or I can't even think of one off the top of my head. It's straight up most likely The Matrix. So yeah, I just think it's a badass movie. I watched it I think for the first time at Mike and Kate's house, actually. I don't know if you remember that, but
it was a long time ago.
Probably 11 years old, 10 years old, something like that. Mm-hmm. And you told me to pay attention to the movie.
That's right. Pay attention.
If you miss something, you're not going to understand what's going on.
Yep.
So
that's true.
Yeah, no, it is true. So yeah, I chose The Matrix, man. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
But one thing you did mention is that with the recent, at least I think you mentioned it or Doug mentioned it or one of you two had talked about it. The recent kind of surge forward with AI, like we have this AI situation where Chat GTP now Bing has folded it into their search engine, and it kind of makes you wonder, and let's circle back around to that because I have thoughts on that. But if anybody out there that's listening or watching or whatever hasn't seen The Matrix, I don't know why you haven't seen The Matrix, right? This movie came out in 1999. There's been 3 sequels to it, and none of them are really all that good. The first one really just knocked it out of the park. Yeah, it really did. And the whole concept behind this is society, we are living in a computer simulation, and the individuals living in a computer simulation are used both from their body heat and the electricity that their body creates to work as batteries to charge a gigantic computer that maintains the simulation. And there are some individuals living outside the Matrix, which is the simulation, and they're basically trying to bring the Matrix down. And our main character, played by Keanu Reeves, Neo, is supposedly the individual that now we kind of get into this philosophical component of the movie that he is an individual who is above the Matrix and has the ability to bring it down. And so the whole movie is about his basically progression, his arc to become the one, Neo, the one, right? So I saw this when it came out in the theater, and Doug and I have talked about this movies like this before. There's movies that change, like, oh, everything's going along good. All of a sudden, there's Star Wars, and everybody, every movies change forever, right? Pulp Fiction. Or Reservoir Dogs. That movie comes out and it just changes movies forever. The Matrix is one of those movies, right?
No doubt.
And I remember seeing the theater just being like, this movie's a 10. Well, we don't need to rate it. It's a 10. It's a 10 for me. This movie's a 10.
I can't imagine movie theater, man.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest movies ever. But again, talking about the whole movie, this movie also, like we talked about action earlier in movies. The action in this movie, the directors, the Wachowskis, they nailed it.
It redefined visual impact because of the way it was filmed. Do you guys know how they get those shots?
No.
The still frame shots. Okay, so
with the bullet cam, you mean?
Oh, were they
bullet
like
cam, yeah.
pan like around him?
Yeah. So here's how they do it. It's actually super cool. You can do it with GoPros. You can do it with full-fledged cinematography cameras or whatever. But you set up a whole bunch of them, and you run them all in a sequence. and then the action goes by all of those cameras. And then what you do is, if Neo is in a certain spot on frame number 2000, you get all of the cameras on frame 2000, and then you can switch from one view to the next view to the next view to the next view, and it looks like he's still, but because you have different perspectives on each camera, it makes it look like you're zooming around a freeze frame. I don't know who came up with it, but it was really neat. We did a little test on that in film school using 6 GoPros, and it works great. It's hard to set it up because you have to get focus on the right spot on all the cameras, and then you have to sequentially get them all running together. And but it's pretty neat the way they do it. But that changed everything in the way action was filmed. I mean, because they were using wires already, like in Spider-Man and all that stuff. But yeah, the bullet cam changed a lot. That blew people's heads off.
Thoughts on the movie? Just throw it out there. I mean, especially maybe in the context of the world we live in today.
Well, I will say that I showed this to Andrew when he was little. He was always advanced, I guess, in his ideologies and stuff. He wasn't like a dumb little kid that you couldn't tell him anything. Like even when he was very little and we used to pick movies, he wanted to watch Jaws, and I was like, I don't know, man, he might be a little too young. So I convinced him. I'm like, okay, this is a fake shark, so I don't want to wake up because I have nightmares and shit, because he really was. Because we all
know Andrew cries like a bitch, man.
Yeah.
Still do now.
So I explained to him. I explained to him how the shark worked, and then so when he saw it, he would be able to break the illusion. Anyway, so when I showed him this, that one of the reasons I showed him was the complexity of the story, right? The layer upon layer upon layer of reality, and how people were moving in and out from in those different realities. And I think he got it. Oh, clearly he got it because he liked the movie. But that was my big thing about this film that really to me was massively groundbreaking. I like the bullet cam, and I like some of the stunts they were doing. That was all super cool. Visually was beautiful, but the idea, the concept, because I think as kids probably we've all flirted with that idea. When you read Horton Hears a Who, right? Like, oh man, what if we are really just this, with this whole society on a little speck of dust, and a giant's going to come and squish us one day or something, that crazy different reality that is a potential. And so that's what sold me on the film, was the story. And Trinity was hot, so that was it.
She was a different kind of hot.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I was digging it, man. I liked it. I'm red pilled all the way.
Yeah. Well, and Doug and I, back when we lived in Key West together, we would actually have conversations about, because we'd be playing video games, we'd be playing like Road Rash or some shit. And I think we even talked about it one time when we were doing that. It's like when they come out where you can actually plug the shit into your head and basically wire in and just sit there and fucking just, and it's like the world's a video game. We're like, I would do that. I would get the surgery, so,
be there.
but, well, that's to your point. Yeah, so
I heard Neuralink went through their first, got accepted for their first clinical trials.
Wow.
I just heard that the other day, so don't take it with a grain of salt.
I'm not sure I'm down for that. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, are you familiar with the whole simulation theory? Have you ever heard of the simulation theory? Let me see. I've seen a couple of videos on it. There was a guy. Let me see. Who is it? His name was. It came 2003. This guy, Nick Bostrom. He was a philosopher, and he basically said, right now, you, me, everybody we're living in a simulation, and it's like typical philosophy. And as we kind of talked about one of our previous discussions, that our brains aren't wrinkly enough to really understand a lot of philosophy. But with that said, the concept is pretty much that, that we are and you can look at like Unreal Engine 5, for example. That shit looks real as fuck. Okay. It just does, man. And so, his whole point is that we are headed in a direction where we are all going to be in simulations. We are going to be in a simulation. And to that effect, because we are headed that way, we probably are already there. In other words, it's probably already happened. So we are probably, and what makes it even more a bit of a twister, a mind twister, is that there's no way to prove that we're not. There's no way to prove that we're not in a simulation. So, you know,
people inside the Matrix think they're in real life, right? So that's the whole point.
And again, as I watch this movie again, there's conversations where Smith is torturing Morpheus, right? And he says, "Do you realize that the first Matrix, we tried to make a utopia, but we couldn't make a utopia because the people couldn't handle it. They knew there was something wrong, so we had to fold in all this,
to create problems,
to create problems, life problems, so people would realize that they were, or at least feel that they're in a reality."
Right.
And we talk, we've talked about other things too. Everything in this movie, like the writers and so forth, they really try to make sure it made some sense. You know what I mean? Like you were like, oh, I can see how that would be a thing. But
in some sense, in some sense, there's a lot of people that are living in some kind of a matrix, right? And it's probably closer to Avatar than anything else, because, I mean, for many years already, people have had multiple personalities, the one that you walk around with, and then all of your different online personalities. And, you pretend to be this, you pretend to be that on this platform or that platform. And I think it's gone nowadays so extreme with children that literally grew up with this from birth. They can't tell the difference, I don't think. And I think that's going to cause problems in the future, if we're not actually in a simulation. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people that live that way. And to me, that scares me. Because I got off social media. That's one of the reasons I got off is because of that very thing. It just felt fake to me. It felt, there was a bunch of crap on there that I want to see anyways, political infighting and all that shit. But it just felt like, what do people do, man? They
show your
right. They do that, and it's like, that's me. That's not really you, So anyway, and then take pictures of their food and their babies. You've talked about it before,
like the whole the fact that we're kind of on a population decline, and
we're about to go off a cliff, apparently.
Yeah, and you look at like Japan right now. Japan probably is a little bit further along in their addiction to technology, and there's. They're not the younger
men. They don't date women. Yeah, if you want a wife, go to Japan, dude. There's 10-1. I mean, it's crazy because men are literally dating apps on their phone and robots.
Yes, and
That's
robots.
crazy.
God, it's so weird. And dolls, and human dolls, and
dolls. I
you're
know,
like,
man.
what the heck is going on?
Oh, we're going out tonight. I don't know.
Dude, it's weird, man.
Yeah.
So. Drew,
maybe we'll be
honest to gosh,
years.
man, you could probably go there and come back with a wife. That would be something. So
buy my ticket. Let's go.
All right.
Damn. All right. So, I'm sorry, Doug and I are dominating the conversation mostly.
No.
What do you think? What do you think, bro?
Man, you mentioned philosophy. I think one of the really cool scenes in that movie is when I can't even remember his name. He's one of the bad guys with the mustache and the earrings, and he's eating that steak. And he makes it look so damn good.
Yes, that was. Let me see. Hold on, I'll tell you in a second who that was.
Character's name?
Joe. It was played by that guy's been around. He's big and
he's been around a long time.
Cypher. He played
Cypher.
Cypher.
That's right.
By the way, great character name.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah, but anyway,
man. When he was eating that steak and he's having that conversation, he's like, "I know the steak isn't real, but it's juicy. It's cooked perfectly. It tastes good." And then he's making that decision himself. He's like, do I even want to put up with all the bullshit in the real world when I can just live the rest of my days comfortable in the Matrix? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that kind of goes to the point that you were talking about, where like a lot of people nowadays, I think they're making the choice to just live in the Matrix, man. It's easier. If everyone in your life is doing that same crap, it's hard to go against the grain. It's difficult, it makes your life more, there's more struggle, but potentially more fulfilling as well. But that scene always stuck in my mind right there.
Mm.
Yeah,
And the whole deja vu thing in the movie was really
with the
cool,
cat. Yeah, that
really
was
well
cool,
done
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
and it's funny because you talk about it being fulfilling, and I agree with that, uh, but at what cost? When you talk
Mhm.
about it being fulfilling, and
I
and
think
I, and I think Doug,
what Drew said, I think you misheard Tony. What he said is to not do that is you have more struggle, but potentially
Yes.
more fulfilled.
Yes.
I
Not being
guess
the
I don't
main
know.
character. Being more fulfilled.
But I will tell you right now, there's people out there that well, and you mentioned Doug, the individuals that kind of maybe do a lot of online stuff where they have avatars and so forth. Of course, they're still they're in at least at the highest level they can separate. They know that there is that differentiation, that line. But I think they do, and that's what I'm saying. Also, is there is this fulfillment. I mean, when you roll up an avatar, you roll into a game. When you roll up a tune, roll into a game, and you're playing. And you're whether it be like an MMO or whatever. Yeah, there is a ring the bell, get a treat. Pavlov's
Mm-hmm.
dog
Mm-hmm.
phenomenon in
Mm-hmm.
these games, right?
Sure.
And also, you can be somewhat of a troll, a freaking bridge
Mm-hmm.
troll, but in that game,
Mm-hmm.
you're a hero,
Mm-hmm.
and we talk about our competitive nature in video games, that feeds into it. But we talk about now in our own society, we have this whole incel thing where individuals, just like in Japan, they can't find a significant other, anybody to be with, but and they say it's involuntary, but is it? I mean, because they're making a conscious decision to not,
But
Stay
you
but
inside.
I'm
know,
not sure that is a conscious decision, Tony. That's the thing.
I don't
So
know.
if
No, I
well,
don't. I
so
think if you ask them, they say no, but they are making a
mhm.
series of decisions that get them into that situation.
Right, but I don't. It's just like well, I remember when you and I went through alcohol training, and I
Hmm.
heard somebody say once the best explanation of an alcoholic that I've ever heard, and that is like telling an alcoholic not to drink is like holding you or me underwater and telling us not to breathe. Right? You can do it for
Right.
a while, right? But eventually you're going to try to breathe. And I think it's a similar type of idea with these folks is that they don't know how to not do that. They don't
Yeah.
they don't know. They've never had to not do that, right? So if you took a 16-year-old right now and unplugged them from all of their social media, they're going to be lost. They're going to be confused. They're going to be scared. They're not going to know how to deal with life because all of their relationships are tied into those platforms. So, which of course is
Sure.
nefarious as crap if you ask me. Um,
Well,
but so I think
and
that my
also,
point is that I don't think the decisions that a lot of these especially younger children are making they're not conscious decisions. They're already sold down the river, just like you mentioned a few minutes ago. Like they're already living
but
in the
they could,
matrix.
but again, but I think they could. I think there is definitely a component of the path was laid out before them. In other words, like, mom and dad bought them a computer. They're
Yeah.
like, rather than hiring a
Yep.
babysitter, I could just drop an Xbox control in this kid's
Yep.
hand. We're
But
good
but how
there.
do they change now though? That's the question, right?
Oh,
So
I don't
if
freaking know. I don't know if they can. I don't know.
yeah, that's
I
the
don't
point.
know.
Is yeah.
I think. Well, shit. I mean, psychology. Recognizing that there's a problem and that you're living in a certain environment is. I mean, self awareness is key. But whatever. I mean, but I
Hmm.
will tell you that I do think we're kind of headed. Like I said, we're headed in a direction because this matrix is something I think a lot of people want. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They
Well, just like Drew said, a lot of people find it's better. It's like yeah, if you are a bridge
yeah.
troll and you can go into the matrix and be a
That's,
hero, then
that juicy
why the hell
steak
wouldn't
is,
you?
is better than having to fight all day and every day, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Right. Haven't eat baby food out of a fruit out of a on a
right, yeah. Having to
on the
eat
meth deck of that.
slop.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But that's again, this is where I think the real rub is that is a short-term view. The long-term view is that that's a recipe for disaster. You're going to
Right.
crash. It's because you're
Yeah.
pretty much reliant. Let's say we're talking Facebook, for example. You're
Hmm.
reliant on Facebook to continue to run. You're reliant on Facebook to continue to populate your feed in a way that's
Right.
positive for you, and and so on and so on. And as
Right.
soon as one of those things breaks down, it gets ugly fast, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, if people could could identify that they were snagged into that and make the conscious choice to get out of it, I think they would be more fulfilled. And I'll be honest with you, man. When I bailed out of Facebook, it was for a couple different reasons. That was kind of I never really did Twitter or any of the other ones. And like Drew was saying, there's some cost to that, right? Like I can't communicate with my mother, for example, who's 85 and lives by herself. I can't communicate with her as quickly. I have to call her and she has to answer, or I have to text her and wait for her to get back. Facebook is almost instantaneous because she's always on there. And so, yeah, same. Like I don't see what my family in South Africa is doing on a regular basis and so on. But honestly, it makes the times that I do find those things out better. They seem more valuable, you know?
Well, we talked about, like I said, we talked about the nice guys. And think of when I was watching that, I was thinking pre-computer and how cool it was. You know,
Yeah.
so now I do personally. I have a Facebook account. I don't really use it except for like posting things about the show and stuff like that, or our podcast. I think I can find a balance, you know. But I think you're right. I think especially nowadays with social media influencers and so forth, there's that level of addiction. But I tell you one thing I was going to comment on. Yeah,
I was just about to say. I think that's another portion of it is like. You bring up whether it's a choice or not, but for some people, it's an addiction. Like it's genuinely a problem. Like
right.
I have friends that if they don't like delete it off their phone, they will go on it. They cannot, like they have no self-control when it comes to that. And they have self-control in other areas of their life. Like they're, I know these people, but yeah, when it comes to social media, man, they're like TikTok is one of the worst, man. Just lose hours and hours and hours scrolling. And it's easy to do, man. I've done it a couple times too, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And TikTok's a whole nother thing. It really is. You know, so
I've never even seen it. So I feel fortunate.
I showed you one TikTok, the Joe Biden TikTok.
Did you?
Yeah. The Sleepy Joe one where he like looks.
Oh, well, I think it's another part of that for me is like, I've actually, again, I've been out of that loop, I guess, for so long now that it's actually, it's like when you quit smoking, Tony. You remember that? Like when you quit smoking, like the first couple of weeks is like, oh man, I could use a cigarette. Oh man, you smell it and whatever, right? And then after 6 years of being out of it, you're like, God, that's awful. You know what I mean? Like I can't even be around people that smoke because you smell it on their clothes, right? And I kind of feel like I'm transitioning that way right now with social media. And you talked about stuff like influencers and all that. To me, man, that drives me nuts because, you're choosing to let other people influence you in your life. That you don't know they have no stake in your life. Like if you go to a pastor, or you go to a parent, or you go to a coach or something, they got a little stake in the game. But these are idiots that are just after money, and half the time they're legitimate idiots.
Marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, it's funny you talk about smoking. We just got done talking
start
about
smoking
the nice
again.
guy.
Let's go. Let's do it.
No, yeah. Well, if I make it to 85, I'm lighting up. But I was telling Melanie, like we were watching the Nice Guys, and of course they're
smoking.
They smoked, yeah. And I was telling Melanie, like there's a scene where he like picks up a matchbook and lights a cigarette. And I was explaining to her, I was like, yeah, man. And Doug and I, Drew, were like heavy smokers, man. We smoked a lot, and we were always, there was like you'd wake up in the morning and it would be like the first thing you would do is light up. You were always looking for matches. You had matches laying around your house. Like I'll tell you right now, as ubiquitous as this thing is, was a pack of smokes.
With cigarettes.
With cigarettes.
And they were cheap for us too, because we bought them on base.
I told her that too. I asked, I looked up how much a pack of smokes costs now, and it says between $5, but in New York State, they're as many as $12 a pack. And which is mind-numbing to me, but to pay $120 for a carton.
No way. I'm going to look it up. You keep talking. I'm going to look that up.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that's crazy to me. So anyway, on that note, I didn't want to mention like it's amazing. We live in a world. Our world, like things like leap forward. There's always kind of this gradual. Things improve, video cards get better. I always use this discussion, like when I talk about my own job in medicine, there'll be some sort of medical procedure or medicine or something like that causes everything to like leap forward. Things aren't quite as, they will be gradual, but one thing will happen where, all bets are off. And
changes everything,
lately yeah, lately that I don't know if you've played with the Chat GTP, but oh my lord, I have played with it, and it's addicting, and it makes me feel uneasy. I mean, I'm an individual that writes a lot, and
Uh,
and uh,
No
it's
more.
insane how powerful it is.
yeah.
And again, we're talking about like AI, Terminator type stuff. I've always kind of thought that was kind of bullshit. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I really wonder.
Yeah.
Like just a quick story. Like I had to write an email, and I'd been tasked to write with the email like it. I think I told Doug this, but I was tasked to write the email like at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I came home from work and I was like, son of a gun, I don't feel like writing this email. So I opened up Chat GTP and I wrote like in Chat GTP, like, all right, Chat GTP, write an email for me. I'm writing it to so-and-so in my office. I just want to let him know that this is fucked up and it doesn't need to be fucked up anymore. It needs to be good. And if he can do something to make it good, that would be great. And if he's got any questions, maybe he can ask me, or maybe he can just kind of like pull his head out of the sand and figure stuff out on his own. And I didn't expect it to spit anything out, right? I hit enter. And again, I'm exaggerating, but not much. Okay. I mean, like I really just kind of wrote like a stream of consciousness, right? And damned if that thing didn't spit out an email that I had to
Professional too, huh?
barely edit. Oh, it was tight. That thing was
Mm.
tight. So I was talking to one of my colleagues the other day, somebody, because I'm working on a paper with one of my friends, and and she's the one that actually introduced it to me. So she's the one that gave me the heroin and said, if you want more, it's going to cost. But
Yeah. Right. So the first
so
one's free.
so I
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I mentioned to her, I said, my only concern about this is it kind of strips away my own humanity, right? I mean, it's not me writing, it's Chat GTP. And her pushback was, well, not really, because if you read it and you edit it, you make it where you like how you like it to sound. And like, honestly, that email did spit stuff out. Like there was stuff in that email. I was like, there's no way I'd keep it in there. So it had to be edited. I
Yeah.
mean, I would have gotten in trouble. But yeah, so, but that wasn't a thing 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's about to
it
hit.
really,
It's about to hit hard. You watch. I mean, 6 months from
yeah.
now, it's gonna. Yeah, there's some major disruptions about to happen. I think. I don't know
You think
what, but
how?
well,
Okay.
just think about I don't know. Go back to the cotton gin, right? Whatever. Technology
Yeah.
leaps forward like that in such a.
Right.
I think the difference now, though, let's take the cotton gin. The difference now is that how many people were producing cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Not many, right? But whoever
Right.
invented the cotton gin, Eli Whitney, by the way, I remember that from school because I paid attention. But yeah, so if you could afford a cotton gin, guess what? Your production just went up massively, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that really affected very few people, other than the consumers who now could buy cotton cheaper and you could buy clothes cheaper and so on, right? But the power is in the hands of everybody. Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody has a cotton gin now. So who knows
Right.
what's going to happen? And I'm not, this isn't the nefarious conversation, but there
No.
could be some really, really good stuff that
Well,
comes out of this, but shit's
to your
going to
point,
change fast.
how many jobs rely on a writing skill set, right?
Yeah. Well, and plus this thing is, I forgot what you call it, but it's like it's like a double helix or something, but it's only going to get smarter as more people use it.
Right.
And then as it gets smarter, more people are going to use it, and it's going to
Generative
continue to get
learning.
smarter, right? And yeah, so your editing is going to become less and less and less
Man,
because
just
it's
do not ask it.
linguistic.
Don't ask it if it wants to play global thermonuclear war.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
do it.
Matthew
Don't do it.
Broderick is warning us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
start
That
asking
is a-
political science questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing also with education. That's in my little world. We're like, it's not even worth it to give students writing assignments. Because
they have AI checkers, so that's
they're working on AI checkers. If your instructors tell you they have them, I'll tell you right now they're full of shit. Okay,
They're lying? All right.
they're working on AI checkers. Okay, so
See, this
hey,
is a
don't
valuable
test me on that.
podcast, Drew.
They have AI to check for AI, right? So it's like,
Yeah, right.
yeah, I mean, legit. So you'll have an AI that runs a paper through it, and then it will look for patterns and stuff and all that kind of stuff that it could be potentially generated by AI.
Well, also to be clear, I mean, like when I use it, and it spits something out, I'm just not like hitting the copy button and dropping
Yeah.
it where it needs to go. I'm going
Mhm.
through it because
Like you said, you
AI
kinda
still
have to
makes
most of the time.
mistakes.
Yeah,
Of
you
course.
kind of have to most
Yeah.
of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but my point is that as months go by and literally thousands of people join in, it's a language-based system, so it's going to learn more and more and more language, and it's going to refine itself every time somebody adds a new way to construct a sentence or slang or something. It's going to pick that stuff up super quick, I think. And then with NVIDIA, with its new computer that they just invented, that's going to quadruple, more than that, 100 times the speed with which this thing learns. So it's going to get out of hand quick, I think. And I don't know, who knows, man? Maybe it's going to cure cancer. Maybe it's going to solve the fake environmental crisis that we have. That was
That's
a
already
big.
solved.
You like that? You like that? It was quick, yeah. But anyway, the point is that it's going to ramp up fast. I think we are at the nugget. And Drew, pay attention. Remember I told you to pay attention in the Matrix? Pay attention now, because Tony and I lived through this with computers. Okay. And I think I told you the story just the other day. I was in 11th grade and we had one of those pieces of card and you had to punch out the holes and stick it into the machine and it would spit the answer back out at you. And if you didn't punch the holes out correctly, it would give you the wrong answer, right? So you junk in, junk out. That's where that whole thing came from.
Yeah.
But as I was going through that class, I heard my teacher say that computers are the future, man. Computers are the future. And I heard it. I was interested. I liked computers, but I was lazy as shit, and I didn't do anything about it. AI, generative AI is the future. So if you're interested in it, jump on now. Go. Full blast. Go. Because it's here. It ain't going away.
Or just build a bunker. Good dude.
Go deep.
Just
Go deep.
Wait for the world to burn.
Buy a shitload of ammo, build a bunker, get a water purifying station.
And either wait for the world to burn or light the fuse.
Yeah.
I've already told Doug that I feel fortunate that I am in my 50s because I'm going to catch the tail end of this. I'm not envious of you, Drew. I really am not. I mean, I'm envious because you're young and you're, that's awesome.
See,
but
I don't know, dude. Let's carry this conversation on. I know we said we're going to keep these short, but I am not as pessimistic. I think that there is plenty of bad shit that can happen. We got lots of movies to tell us about the Terminator and the Matrix and all those things. But if you watch the Matrix at the end, good shit happens, right? Neo masters the ability, right? So I think we always miss that part when we're talking about
Doug, it's not a documentary.
What did you say? Sorry,
it's not a documentary. So
I don't think I understand your comment.
It's not a documentary. You're saying that good things happen at the end of the Matrix. I'm kind of like, not.
Oh
not
yeah,
real,
no.
man.
But my point, So that's what my point is. That's one of the rare stories, right? Most of them are dystopian, right?
Sure.
Skynet and all of that shit. But all I'm saying is, I think that human beings have the capacity to do some really good shit as well. So we'll get some dark stuff coming out of this, but I think we're getting lots of good stuff as well. So I'm not as pessimistic, Drew.
Well, I understand. I will say that my comment's cynical. I will agree.
Yes.
But with that said, it's not that I think that it's gonna be tank treads rolling over skulls in a Terminator movie. My thing with a lot of this is that
would you like to play
honestly,
a game?
a lot of this comes from the place where I'm tired, I'm old, and to figure out technology and so forth, it just wears on me, right? With that said, I think we're going to end up in a world where, navigating technology becomes more and more challenging, even for the layperson, is my thought, like I was saying before, say again?
Yeah, I don't agree.
I think AI is going to make it easier for you.
I mean,
You're gonna have,
again, from my perspective, okay. Yeah. Like I said, I work in education. Okay, education relies on certain knowledge-based activities, testing knowledge.
You're going to get replaced, Tony, in education by one of these. You're going to get replaced. That's not a joke. So, that's all of human history is available to you right here. So,
my point is that like, to that point is that hey man, we've been doing this for a certain way for so long. When you talk about and yes, there's definitely hybrid teaching theories and so forth, and using technology and all that. But one of the primary things we do is we test knowledge using using, things like writing papers and all that kind of stuff. And that's all threatened now. Now that doesn't mean so do we continue to embrace that, or do we find different ways to do it? My point being is that that I'm at the tail end of this, right? So I'm probably just going to kind of roll out, and hopefully I'll still have those resources to use. Individuals coming in after me, and I don't think this is unique to education. Like, for example, if there is written word and there is a program out there that writes, which right now we have a writer's strike. Okay, you can ask ChatGTP to write a joke. Okay. And to your point, Doug, ChatGTP is going to continue to get smarter, and the writing in Hollywood lately is blows. Okay. So those individuals are at risk. They're going to have to figure out a way to work around it.
Yeah. So that's
again,
it. Exactly. It's change. It's not necessarily the end, right? It's just morphing. And the first thing that came to my mind is that, remember when cell phones first came out, right? They were flip phone. Right. Well, the great big ass things, but when they were portable, when you could afford, and I could afford a cell phone. If you wanted to type anything, you had to hit the key like 4 times to get the E, and you had to 1 time to get the A, and so on, right? Now you have an Apple phone. So the famous they have made it easy for people to use. And so all of this is going to get very easy for you to use in the future. And so you're going to, as an old guy, I'm the same way. We're going to walk in. I've never even used ChatGTP. I don't even know what it is. I don't know how to log on or whatever. But the point is that if I wanted to, I could probably figure it out. Right. And I could go onto YouTube and look up a video. That's how I fixed my car yesterday.
You don't need to. Dude, ChatGTP, you have a window, type a question in. That is
so you've already made it easy for me.
It's like
and the same thing is going to happen. Yeah, same thing is going to happen when this shit blows up and crazy technology, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what? Why do we have a university taking up a third of a city in a city block, or 3 city blocks or whatever it is? We don't need that. That's space that we could use for homeless people or whatever. Somebody else is going to come up with this idea, and they're going to go like, hey, everything you wanted to know is right here. So you just do it this way. So I think threatened is a good word, but it's threatened by change. I don't think it's threatened by death. You know what I mean? So teaching is not going to die. Maybe the human part of teaching as a teacher is going to morph dramatically, I think.
And I don't want to be, like I said, I'll be in my bunker. I think we're going to end up like in WALL-E. I think that's what's going to happen. We're all going to be fat and on.
Dude, that was the most couches. Premonition movie I've ever seen. Like they're floating around on their little lounge chairs.
Oh,
that was awesome. I loved it.
Their giant sodas.
Yes.
Nailed it. Honestly, I don't think that's when I talk about where we're headed. I'm kind of like, and to your point about quitting Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think I think that's probably very prudent for a lot of people. Like I said, I personally don't feel like I'm addicted to that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, and again, I think there's probably if you probably looked at, I don't know how many people are on Facebook. Facebook takes a lot of heat now anyway, so I don't know if it's as popular as it was, but there's probably a certain percentage that use it every second to every day to every week to every month, and but I think there's a lot of people that are very. And Drew mentioned TikTok. I got students. That's what they're like. Hey, are you on TikTok? And I'm thinking, fuck no, man. No, never.
There's a 75-year-old lady that lives next door to me, and she's hooked on it, man. Hooked. And she admits it. Yeah. She's like, oh yeah. And we'll have them come over for dinner, and she does TikTok video. I'm like, whatever, dude.
That's weird, man.
That's your thing, whatever. So yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so good pick, Drew. The Matrix, good pick, man. I think we all 3 give it a 10 for sure. And then,
dude, I love that movie. Dude, I am so glad you recommended it because I knew I was going to like it. But God, man, it holds up so well.
Yeah,
it's still a good movie. What, 20, almost 20 years later?
5 years.
25 years later, yeah. 24.
Yeah, I will say that some of the action is maybe a little dated, just a little. If that's my one.
No,
nitpick.
That's because that was the first one, and people have done it better since. And you kind of
But like when they have that scene where Trinity's got the gun against the guy's head, and she goes, "Dodge this," and she smokes him.
It's awesome.
Freaking amazing. Awesome.
Dude, that shot from underneath the helicopter with the brass raining down. Totally classic, man. Totally classic. Trinity doing the backflip off the motorcycle into the building across the way.
I like the metal detector scene. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah,
So good.
Badass, man.
very
good.
stylish.
Trench
Yes,
coat,
very
metal
stylish.
detector. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
Mel and I were talking about how that brought in the whole trench coat goth thing. Yeah, so but all right.
Cool, man.
Man, this one
All
could
right,
go
well-
long, but that's totally cool. We're gonna
it's
leave
good
it there.
conversation.
Great conversation. I enjoyed it. So, all right, everybody, thank you very much for listening. Thanks for listening to us discuss the Matrix and a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with the Matrix. And
And get all
hope you have
everybody get off your social media accounts. It's killing
Yes.
you.
it's killing you. Have a
TikTok's
great day.
mind virus.
Another podcast, another outro. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so let's keep this one short. Like, share, subscribe, maybe ring a bell. I don't know what that'll do for you, but hey, sounds awesome. Go to our webpage, check out some old podcasts we've done. They're all really good. I'm sure you'll like every one of them. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. Send me an email, send me a note, send me a show idea. Maybe you want to join us on one of these podcasts. That's always an option. Finally, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an awesome trip, and we'll see you again next time.